Electrostatic grass has really revolutionised how we do model railway scenery. Once upon a time, we'd be taking all our flock powders, you know, stuff like this, and which is literally just ground up foam, and we'd be just chucking that all over the hillsides, and it would look green, but it really wouldn't have any texture. If you wanted texture for something like a cornfield, you had to plant loads and loads of fibres. We used to use a lot of plumber's hemp, and that took forever. So electrostatic grass comes along, and the technique is really great because you get texture, you get colour, you get different colours, and your layout starts to look really alive. And the great thing about it is it's simple to use and very quick. You can change the look of a layout in a couple of hours. The basics are that you've got some fibres. Now these fibres are a sort of nylon-y base, and they are, as you can see, looking like cut grass. And you give them an electrical charge, static electricity, don't worry, we're not using mains voltages here, static electricity, fire them at a layout and into some glue, and they will stick and they will point upwards. A bit like Action Man hair, for those of you who remember Action Man. As you can see, this is a piece I did earlier, and you've got a bit of texture. You've got some grass here that's relatively short because it's mowed grass. I've gone for a bit longer over here and around the edges of the buildings. Today's project is going to be to scenic up this little area with a Nissen hut stuck on it. And I've got my mud, which is Wilco nutmeg spice emulsion. That's my basic mud base, and I've put it over some household wall filler just to give myself a little bit of texture and a bit of height around the model. The ground is very rarely completely flat, so some lumps and bumps with ready mixed wall filler really just give the area a little bit of character. And next, I need to think about grass and undergrowth, because when we say electrostatic grass, we actually mean green lumpy bits, the fibrous bits you see everywhere, not just nicely mown grass. Very few of us are modelling Wimbledon. And the first consideration has to be colour. Now, I'm going to be using the new Woodland Scenics range of grasses, and the reason I'm using them is because they are a fantastic range of colours. We've got the really light burnt straw colour of grass that's been in a drought in the summer. We've got some nice spring greens. We've got a really lush green here. A nice mixed bag of the various greens as well, so that we don't end up with all of our scenery looking like it's covered in a carpet, or that stuff you find outside greengrocers. And the other thing is, we've got lots and lots of different fibre lengths. So they do 12mm fibres, 7mm fibres here, and there's even, I think, some 3mm fibre. I think these are 3mm fibres. I'm not going to measure them up, and I've lost the packing. But some 3mm fibres, so we can mix it up and get a bit of variety of different heights as well. So obviously, neat areas. This looks like a neat area, people's lawns, that sort of thing. 3mm fibres. Bearing in mind, a 3mm fibre is still best part of 8 inches tall. If you've got 4mm to the foot, you're looking at 8. You're looking at a fairly decent length bit of grass, basically. If you've not mowed it and your grass has got that long, then you're in for a scythe rather than a lawnmower. Anyway, what we will need is a device to throw our grass fibres at the model. Now, one of the things in the Bachmann range is they do a rather nice little starter set with a couple of fibres and a shaker, so you can shake the fibres all over the layout. And it includes some what they call static tack glue. You can tell it's an American system. They have weird names on their glues, but static tack is the basic glue. And you get a little comb for combing your fibres as well. However, this is great, the starter kit is great, it puts everything you need in the box, which is lovely, but once you get into layout sizes, you probably want to be buying the bigger bags because they're much more economic that way. So, I'm going to start off with my basic base. And the other thing I'm going to say is, although I'm mainly going to be using Woodland Scenics stuff here, don't feel you can't mix and match. If you've already got some static grass stuff, go and buy some of the Woodland Scenic stuff, or vice versa. Go around, You can mix all these materials up, just have a big box of them and pull them out as and when you want. You don't actually have to stick with one manufacturer's material. That said, I do like the colours on this stuff. Some of the European brands, the colours are best described as nuclear green. If you turn the lights off, you can probably still see them. This stuff actually looks like proper greens you see in nature. One of the simplest and cheapest ways, if you've not bought the starter set with a shaker, is to apply your grass is this Knock or Gauge Master puffer bottle. Now this bottle is made of polythene, and so it will impart a static charge to the grass. All we do is put some of that in. I do tend to mix it up a little bit. I'll use different people's fibres in there. I'll tend to leave some in there as well. Put the top on. As you can see, this is a fairly messy job, this. Give the bottle a good shake and then squirt on me static tack glue. This actually wants to go off very, very slightly. So I'm just going to spread it around a little bit to the area I'm working on first. And let it just go a little bit tacky. So I'm going to have a little, I'm going to nip off for a minute, have a cup of tea, and actually drink a cup of tea. It doesn't take that long to go off, but just let it go off a little while so the fibres can stick. So back in a moment. Me glue's gone tacky now, and doesn't have to be really tacky. And again, it's one of these things you will get the hang of. Give the puffer bottle a good shake, and I've got 3mm fibres in here. And just puff it on this way. And this is great, very handy, and it's very handy for touching up around the edges of buildings and that sort of thing. But it tends to be one of those jobs that only really works well with shorter fibres. But you can see, all these fibres are sticking up quite nicely. Everywhere is absolutely covered in them. But fortunately, as part of the range, we get a vacuum cleaner as well. Tidy up a little bit. If you don't have the vacuum cleaner, actually what I recommend is a normal vacuum cleaner and put a handkerchief over the end of the nozzle, and you can regather the fibres and reuse them, put them back in your pot. And there we have it. This stuff will dry. I know it looks a bit odd at the moment, but it will dry a lot darker because the glue at the moment is white and it shows through the fibres, and it all makes it look a little bit luminous. But again, something with a bit of practice you'll get the hang of. However, the puffer bottle is fantastic, and it's certainly a tool I wouldn't want to be without. But it's slow, and it doesn't half hurt your fingers as you're puffing away over an entire layout. Most people, when they think about electrostatic grass, they start thinking about one of these electronic tools. Now this is the Bachmann tool. It's got a 9-volt battery in the bottom, although there is the ability to put some, there's a transformer you can put some power through that way. What you've got is you've got a hopper, and into that hopper you put your static grass. There's a crown arrangement in the bottom there that will provide a positive charge, and then you'll need to earth the device with a wire that is handily, and this is something I think is really neat, comes with a little metal 4-legged thing. Plug that in, and there we are, ready to go, applying the grass. So again, I'll put the Stati-Tac glue all over this, and we'll have a go with some longer fibres. Right, my static tack has gone suitably tacky, so I will take my device, which I've now filled up with a mix of 7mm and a few 3mm fibres, and I will place the little stool thing so it's got a couple of legs in the glue. Switch the device on. There's a nice light on there, and give it a little bit of a shake. There are the fibres are going to come out through this mesh at the top, and they do provide different size meshes for you, and you can actually, this is quite a versatile tool in that you can put dividers in so you don't have to have so much stuff in there. But to be honest, it seems to work come straight out of the box, and I'm perfectly happy with it. Just make sure that the device is earthed, and then give it a good shake. And what's happening is inside the device is imparting the charge to the fibres. Just move that so I can get the bit underneath. Now these longer fibres are a little trickier in that they're lying down, but that's all right because the next stage is to vacuum them. What you do is you just vacuum the excess off. And also vacuum the fibres themselves, and it'll just pull them up a little bit. And this is a process that you probably want to do 2 or 3 times as the glue starts to dry off. There's also a nice little comb provided, but and the idea is that you can comb the fibres up as well, but you definitely want to wait till the glue's dried before you do that. So I'm just going to let the glue dry for a little bit longer, and then we'll move on to the stage of turning this stuff into undergrowth. The glue's dried, the colour of the nutmeg spice, or my earth colour, is coming up through the grass, and it's starting to look a bit more like undergrowth. But as we know, unloved undergrowth grows in all sorts of heights and looks generally scruffy, and that's the effect I'm going for around this little building. So the next stage is to put a bit more depth in here, and Woodland Scenics have thought of that because they've got various different scatters and various different fibre lengths you can put on there. And to put it in its simplest form, all you do is you've got your static grass, and that looks lovely, and then you spray some more glue on top of it. That sticks it together, it sticks, and you put another layer of static grass or flock or anything else on there until you're happy with the end result. Now, handily, they do something called spray tack, which is a lovely sort of watery version of the static tack, which is great, doesn't smell, works really well, apart from the fact that we've come along to do the filming and the bottle's broken. So, plan B is that we will use some hairspray. It's just as good. The hairspray stuff, you want the extra hold. It is going to smell, and possibly you want to, it's not quite so nice to use the static tack, but at least it'll work for the purposes of this demonstration. As I say, you can mix and match all your materials. Don't feel you have to stick with one brand. Mix and match them, give them a go. If you see some colours or something that looks well, just go and have a go with it. That's the great thing about this sort of thing. You can experiment. Now, it's important to protect the building from the glue, so I'm just going to use a bit of kitchen towel for this. Junk mail is especially good for this job because it's actually quite stiff, and you're going to throw it in the bin anyway. So just spray some over something over the top of the area you're working on. And in this case, I'm going to just use a bit of a sprinkle of Woodland Scenics blended turf flock powder, and that goes on there like that. And you can see, it's deliberately patchy, and perhaps I'll use some of their coarser powder as well, a little bit of that in there, and you can see that will stick. As you can see, it's not falling off the bottom of the model, and that will stick surprisingly well. I think you'll find the proper glue will hold it even better, but hairspray or whatever will work quite nicely. Over this side, I turn it that way. Over this side, a bit more spray. Now, I've used longer fibres here, so what I'll actually do is I will just give them a little bit of a blast with the shorter fibres I happen to still have in here. And you can see, again, I'm using a different colour, a slightly different colour, so you can get some colour variations now coming in. Look at that. That's really building up there. And this is where having a range and having a lot of different colours available to you works really well, because you can really start to build up a bit of variety. You can see where I've vacuumed it, the fibres are sticking up there. And then a final touch, let's just give it a sprinkle of that as well to make it look like undergrowth rather than just grass. And there we go. Now this, as you can see, this hasn't taken me very long, to be honest. The longest jobs are getting the stuff together, getting yourself set up, and then really, quite frankly, tidying up afterwards. Don't generally wear a black top because the grass will get absolutely everywhere. And you will find you'll need to do quite a bit of vacuuming and brushing of buildings afterwards, because, to be honest, these fibres do tend to cling. That's what they're designed to do. But you can see already my little scene is coming together. I'm going to take this away now, and I'm going to finish it off, sort of sort out all the foreground. I'm probably going to put a little bit more, a few flowers in there. If you look at this other one I've done, I've got a little bit of sprinkle of bright yellow or bright purple flowers, just to give myself a bit more colour in the scene. And I've applied those on hairspray in exactly the same way I've just done on here. I might also look at putting some very long fibres in. Now you can't, these are quite long fibres that you'll cut to length with a small pair of scissors. They'll need to be placed directly in the Stati-Tac. You can't put it straight into the into this, unfortunately. It's a fiddly job, but around the edge of the building, this sort of thing just gives you that, you know, really unkempt feel. So lots and lots to play with there. I'll go away, finish this off, and show you the end result.